Hey everyone, welcome to the Arts of Marketing, Pushing the Move. I'm Wendy Overs with Nexus Louisiana, one of the very producers of BREW. So one of the most challenging businesses and the arts alike. 2020 fresh innovations are still possible and it can be viewed special for these sometimes disparate parts of our society. Our panel discussion today will explore how the arts are being creatively applied to marketing and brand campaigns at the highest levels, and how similar approaches fit local businesses right here in Indiana. As large corporate brands are expanding beyond acting and voice talent, they're into the power of dancers, singers, poets, hello, Xero, rappers, and more to engage their audiences. Join us as this Arts Council sponsored examines the exciting possibilities for Louisiana business leaders to amplify their company's marketing impact and sustaining our arts community. To get us started, I'll introduce our moderator for today, Xero Skidmore, introduce panelists. The reason why I had hello Xero in the poet section is because Xero Skidmore is a writer, musician, educator, and spoken word artist. He is currently the new director of community engagement at the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge. Xero wrote this bio himself, but hardly referred to himself in the third person. In 2013, he won the World Poetry Slam competition, despite the fact that he may be the most accomplishment was 7 years ago. I personally remember when he won that competition like it was today. And let me tell you, Xero's craft, skill, accomplishments have continued to this day. Xero, I'll let you take it from here. Have fun, guys.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for those kind words that I wrote. All right, y'all. We're going to get this session started. My name is Chancellor Xero Skidmore. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for attending this session today. This conversation that we're gonna have today, this topic was brought to me by the executive director over at the Arts Council, Renee Chatelain. We have been noticing this trend in the media for some time. We've been celebrating it as artists, but we've kind of gotten to a point where we'd like to see that happen more locally and throughout the state. And yeah, maybe this conversation can be a part of that. So for those of you who are wondering what in the hell I'm talking about, which is part and parcel for my life, people are always wondering what the hell I'm talking about. I'll just read this a little bit to kind of see the conversation. So in the budget of every commercial, there's someone referred to as the talent. They're usually an actor or voice actor delivering lines as a character or a spokesperson. They're tasked with motivating the audience to make a purchase. In recent years, we've seen mainstream ad world open up to other types of performers. Intricate works of choreographed movement started to be more prominent, eventually giving way to straight up ballet, modern dance, hip hop dance presentations within commercials. Then we see high intensity spoken word poems starting to pop up in the ads and major brands like Nike and NFL. Apple is good for this as well. And this past year, we saw some amazing ads. There was an ad from Burberry, which played on the old Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain bit, where we saw modern dancers wearing Burberry overcoats, swatting away huge chunks of ice, hail falling from the sky. And Amazon had a really amazing commercial a couple of months ago, kind of referring to the pandemic, where this young girl who had a ballet show coming up that was canceled decides to put on the ballet show on the roof of her apartment complex where everybody can see from their windows. And beautiful, beautiful commercial as well, featuring ballet. And of course, Tommy Talley and I did a commercial early last year for Adidas. where it was an internet ad. So it was about 2 minutes long. And I wrote the poetry and performed the poetry for it. And we ended up winning a national Addy for that commercial for Adidas. And so we're seeing this happen more. It's been going on for maybe about 15 years where I've really kind of started to notice these more avant-garde, I would say, types of performance art being showcased in ads. And so we wanted to kind of explore that. So today I have on the panel Tommy Talley, who is a director, filmmaker with Echo Tango here in Baton Rouge. And we also have joining us Eddie Snyder, who's the creative director over at 368 Media. And thank you so much for being here, Eddie. So yeah,
Thanks.
I guess we can, no problem, no problem. So I guess we can get started. Like, what is it about these more avant-garde types of performance that that sell products? Like, what is it about it that why does it work?
I think talent, if I may start, I think talent in general is memory, right? So as filmmakers, we're trying to attach memories to products and advertising. And if you look at the inauguration yesterday and Amanda Gorman, I mean, I think you look back however many years from now, and that is going to be one of the most memorable pieces, right? And there's a lot going on there. Yesterday's a long day. There's a lot of moving parts. But when you look at that young lady's performance, like, it really sticks and it really resonates. And I think brands are longing for that. I mean, I think ultimately there's an authenticity to that. I think that getting away from the 30-second spot and the 15, and as we've gone to web and we can go longer form, it's allowed us to showcase without being forced into a, at the end of the day, if we're doing a 30-second spot, we have a 4-second bumper on each end. So we're talking 22 seconds at the most to show off, perform, create a memory. And as with the Adidas spot, you got to write 2 minutes. That piece is significantly different if we're trying to sell shoes in 30 seconds, right?
Right. And also, y'all, I forgot to introduce, I'm so sorry, Amy. We have Amy Hall Garner, who's like a world-renowned dancer, choreographer, and I just straight up forgot to introduce you. I'm so sorry. I'm sucking
That's
at this
okay.
so bad.
That's quite all right. Hosting is an art in itself, so don't even worry about it. I'm just glad to be here and I'm glad to join this conversation. So don't even worry about it.
Yes. And we were also supposed to have Jency Hogan join us, who's a filmmaker, and she couldn't make it. She ended up having to do some reshoots today. So yeah, Amy, I want to pose that question to you as well. Why does art work beyond the normal kind of voice actor thing?
I think art works because it's part of the human experience. It's what connects us, coming from my dance world, dance and music are like brother and sister. That's just, we see it, we do it ourselves. We hear something, we start moving. And I think that it's a universal language that connects us all very easily. As Tommy was saying, within those 30 seconds, those 20 seconds, you could actually connect, and something can be embedded. Music is, especially music, it's a memory that you can hear a song and you can put yourself right back to when you first heard it. It doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago, one day ago, it just relates to all of us. And when you bring in dance, I think dance is just so visually powerful. It kind of transcends the norm. It's athletic. Not everybody can do it, but the way it is shown, everybody can do it, and it makes you. It's a feeling that you get when you dance. It's that natural high that happens, and I think that helps. And when you sell products, you want to have that memory of that music, or you want to have that connectivity, and then you also want to have that natural high. So when you put both of them together, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a natural thing, and people gravitate to that. and they remember it very easily, especially when they're buying products. You know, you just relate to it very easily with Apple, with the earbuds I have on. I remember that when that campaign started, it was those shadows moving and dancing all the time. And so you're like, I want to feel what that is. And I want to feel how, you know, if that's going to make me feel that way, I'm going to buy it. And, you know, it took off from there. So I think, yeah, I think the arts is, it's the most important thing that connects us all.
And Eddie, did you want to chime in on that opening question?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yesterday when I saw Amanda Gorman, as I was watching her through my tears of joy, of course I went to the thought of it as a creative director. I thought, how many people are going to want to tap into her talent, or how many people? What kind of cultural move will we see in branding or branded entertainment based on poetry? And I think that's going to be huge within the next 6 to 9 months. And you're going to see it reflected in brands, because people want to give that sense of hope and that sense of beauty and that sense of eloquence. And so advertising taps into what's popular from a cultural perspective. And I think that we'll see that very much present in a lot of branded spots and branded entertainment.
Well, Amanda Gorman, two of y'all have brought her up. You know, she was, there's the National Youth Poet Laureate. That's a program that was started now years ago when I was running a spoken word program here in Baton Rouge. My friend Michael Sorelli out of New York, who was running Urban Word at the time, he goes, you know, Xero, I want to do this like youth National Poet Laureate program. What do you think? And I'm like rolling my eyes because I know that Michael's about to create more work for me. And so, you know, he tells me about the program, and they're going to have like different cities participate, and then they're going to have one youth poet who's going to be the National Poet Laureate. And, you know, I'm kind of like, okay, all right. I'm waiting until he gets to the point where it's going to be some money in it for us, right? And so he gets to that point, and so I'm like, cool, I'm on board. And so we participated in that program here in Baton Rouge. We had 2 youth poet laureates before we stopped doing it, but they kept it going in other cities around the nation. And eventually, yeah, man, Amanda Gorman, for me, watching that yesterday was just like watching an idea someone told me about come to fruition in a matter of maybe 5-6 years of watching this young lady on stage at the presidential inauguration. And I'm still kind of like, I can't believe.
Mind is blown. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was amazing as well. So
I tear up just thinking about it. I can't tell you how she's rocked my world.
Well, you know, I'm biased. Of course, you know, poetry is gonna win the inauguration for me. So but getting back to our conversation here, do we see these ads? Is this the abandonment of narrative now? And is that a bad thing? I guess that's a 2-part question.
You know, something that Tommy said earlier about just in terms of length of what our availabilities are. I remember, because I've been doing this forever, that, you know, you would just cry to be able to do a 60-second commercial so you could like tell more of a story. A lot of agencies now, when they have the longer form, I've noticed that because my husband's an editor, you know, they're kind of like, oh God, can't we just, you know, they kind of complain about this, but this is the place to be. And from a creative perspective, to have a forum where you could have 2 or 3 minutes to really to take a brand and turn their message into more of an art form, because no one wants to be talked to, you know, and that's what advertising does. So, you know, when you're invited into this world that a brand supports and a brand respects based on music, poetry, dance, art, it's a whole different game. And I think as challenger brands are really emerging, and we see so many different types of brands that have entered the world that are replacing known and loved brands. They all have a cause component. So I think also brands that have a cause component fit so naturally into a more organic aspect of music, poetry, dance, and all aspects of art. And I think that, and I do think you're going to see a resurgence. I don't think it's going to ever replace, you know, the My Pillow shit. But I mean, you know, you're going to see, you know, but you are going to see I think just a different look and feel. You know, I thought it was interesting this year. I won't go on forever, but this year Gap brought back a dance commercial for Christmas, and so Gap made dance amazing in advertising. If you remember in the early 2000s, and then a lot of their dancers went on to have amazing acting careers and everything. And so when I saw a Gap commercial that was dancing this year, my heart was like, oh, you're going back to your roots. You know, you're a struggling brand, because you know. So this made me really happy.
Well, yeah, you know, Amy talked about earlier when these things, when Apple had the shadow of dancers, and now their most recent big commercial for the earbuds, it may have been a Super Bowl commercial. This guy's wearing the earbuds and he's kind of doing this acrobatic thing, bouncing down the sidewalk. They've replaced some kind of way they're using CGI to make the sidewalk trampolines, and he's kind of bouncing off everything, and there's no words in it. But yeah, everybody's kind of maybe going back to their roots a little bit, or just kind of remembering that there was a big payoff, right?
Yeah. And I think it's also entertaining. Like Eddie said, you don't want to be talked down to or talked to when you're advertising. I think it's just entertaining when you're watching TV and all of a sudden it's like a dance break that happens when you're watching your programming. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. And you actually remember it. You go, oh, I remember that ad. Like you remember the ad from almost 20 years ago now when they first started. It's a feeling that happens. And I think the arts, when you use arts in advertising, it taps into that immediately. And it's just, it works. You know, it works.
So what are some, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tommy.
Quick on that. I mean, to massively agree with just the use of dance and Gap, and the Burberry spot is amazing, but specifically with Adidas, who we got to work with this year, like Nike spends obviously a ton on advertising and creative, but they spend a lot on the athlete. Outside of soccer, Adidas actually spends more money on artists than they do on their athletes, which is a fascinating paradigm shift. Michael Jordan started this thing where spent way more money on Jordan's name being attached to all this and the Jumpman logo and all this memorable stuff. But Kanye West makes more money as an Adidas guy than the best baseball players and football players in the world. And that is an artist shift. Now, Adidas is uniquely, you know, lined up with that. That's where Adidas becomes Adidas in hip hop. So there is already a thing there. But I find it interesting working with Adidas. It's art over gimmick. These shoes make you jump higher, right? And I like that shift a lot.
You know, Tommy, I was like doing some research, just some eye candy research, some motion graphic research, and did discover just this bevy of Adidas motion graphics that existed in the world of culture outside of athletes. And it was, I would kind of open the door to me in terms of, I was blown away by the beauty of the work, but also the message and the talent. So it was, you're right. It's pretty fascinating about how that brand reacts with culture.
So are commercials like these too risky for small businesses? I understand that we're talking about kind of luxury brands here, well-established brands. But what about somebody looking to do an ad who's not Adidas, who doesn't have that kind of a budget? Where do they begin?
I think it's a conceptual mindset. I think it's a strategic and a conceptual mindset up front. I mean, if you're a small challenger brand and you want to break out, you know, what's the best way? If you want to do, let's look at Bombas, for example. Bombas that also has a cause. And they've done enough of those. Hey, we're Bombas, and for every sock you buy, you know, we get donated a pair of socks to people in need. But I mean, all their socks are colorful. All their socks are amazing, and it's like, why not do a spot now where they're brand centric in regards to dance, wearing all of these colors? I mean, it's a perfect type of brand that could absolutely segue into more of an entertainment driven or poetry driven. You know, I mean, and they can do it because they take chances already. I think brands that are known to take chances have the doors wide open from a creative perspective of how you want to evolve your message and how you want to entertain with your message.
Anybody else want to chime in on that?
From a local perspective, I encourage people to give artists power. Xero, you and I have worked plenty together, and one of our strengths, and is that I'm a pretty hands-off producer director at the end of the day, especially if budget's small, because at the end of the day, I understand the ask. And if I go change the words and make you do 75 rewrites, the next time I ask you for something, the number's going to be 10x, right? So when you're a small brand, a small company looking for something, if you see an artist you love or a talented thing you love, like, let go, give control away. If the budget's not there, an artist will make that trade, right? You're giving them a platform. That's a fair trade, depending on where you're actually. I'm not saying lowball artist. I'm not saying any of these things. I'm just saying there is a natural trade between the production company, the ad agency, and the artist. And I believe there's a sliding scale between money and control. And if you're willing to let control go and let the artist create and give them a platform, I think better things get created. If I could ever have my way, I would never put anyone from the C-suite in the chair for an interview ever again. It is death to any brand and the worst version of content you can create. The other version of that is pure artistry and passion. And it might not be what you dreamed of when you thought about creating an ad for your brand, but letting go, tapping into talented people and seeing what may be. We have a cycle of communication that if you misstep, 7 minutes later, you can fix it. That's how short attention spans are. Like, be fearless, create,
So, Amy, as a fellow performer on this call, like we know that every performer is not ready for this ad industry, right? This kind of I guess it would fall under the umbrella of commission work, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do directors find the right artists who are not just talented, but also capable of working in this field?
Well, I think Tommy he hit it right on the money. Reaching out to, if you have that brand, reaching out to someone who attracts you, someone who you think would represent the brand, or your business. But when you reach out to the performers per se, or the talent, I think you have to respect the talent, in terms of payment, in terms of what you're going to give them, in terms of how you treat them. I think artists are more willing to do things than you think. You may look at them from afar and go, "Oh, they would never do this." Yes, they would, because they love the work. And I think that if you it's the language that you speak to them, it's the respect that you give them. I think that you can actually acquire the ones that you really want to, the ones that maybe that you may thought would never come to your brand or come to your business. I think they actually would do that. But in terms of being a performer, as a performer, you have to know going in that you may be representing this organization to a degree, and you have to be willing to be maybe compromise just a tad. There's a push and pull always with things. And I think that in letting go and pulling, you also have to let go. And I think the more you do something like this, the better business savvy you become in terms of how what your worth is and how you're represented. I think that, it's trial and error. I've been in many situations where it did not turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, but it had to turn out at the level I wanted it to turn out. So that's, making sure that your work is still at that height of excellence, at the height that you want it to be, but maybe you lose on the creative end, or vice versa. It was creatively great, but maybe, okay, it didn't work out. But I'm always to the point where if it's whatever product it is, it has to look a certain way because my name is attached to it, and other people look at it and they always judge you from that last thing that you did. They don't go back 20 years and go, "Oh, that was amazing what she did 20 years ago." Nope, it was what you did last week. No, regardless of how that came to be. So I think artists have to be willing to always put their best foot forward and learn how to maneuver in a way that they still get their quality out, but also still get the creative out as well. It's always, a little bit here, but you try to make that even balance. I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
No, I definitely think you did. I think there's an agreement, that you come into when you're working with someone, right? like you said, that push and pull. It's like, I am going to allow you to use my art form in your commercial, and I'm also gonna maybe be a little more careful about what I say about your product online, or in interviews, or yeah, I think you don't want to step on toes. I mean, artists are trying to get paid as well, especially these days. And so, yeah, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
I have
But you
this,
also, but you also want to be true to yourself too. So there's a
Yes.
fine line of how to do that.
Yeah.
You have to use language in a way that you still stand firmly in what you believe and what you create and what you want to put forth, but also it still serves, you know, the client who you're working for too. And that's something that as an artist, people don't teach you that. You have to learn by doing. It's another skill. It's like the business side of it. Yes, there's a creative side and we love that part. And then there's also the business. And I see more, especially in branding and commercial, that's the business side to me. That's like, okay, we're doing art for the business. I could do my art, I could create as many dances I want to that make sense to me, that give me my passion, that give me my freedom. But there's also that business part of you. Everybody may not understand what I'm trying to do creatively. So it's that's the push and pull that happens, and I think as artists, you have to know when to let go and when to stand firm.
And when I was teaching regularly, I tried to prepare my students for commission work, commercial work, as much as I could. But there's not always time when you're trying to focus on, artistic excellence. But it is something that's very necessary, I think. And I don't know, Tommy, what made you pick me? I think, we've worked together for a while now, and I'm sure there were other spoken word artists and poets you heard about, could have reached out to.
Yeah, I mean, you and I had a working relationship. So, I mean, history for everyone. Xero and I worked in 2010 together for Veolia, which is a public transportation company out of France. They were taking over the New Orleans Regional Transit Authority. Joe Biden was coming to the World International Transportation Conference in New Orleans, and that's what we did that piece for. I remember in that conversation, we were talking about you getting paid, and it's one of my favorite artist money conversation, is that you thought your performance was worth more than your writing. And I had to convince you to flip the dynamic of what you're going to build, because you had already written the script. They hadn't talked numbers, and they were trapped. They were crying when they read it. Like, they were in. And you tried to charge like something like 3 or 4 times for the performance, which you were charging for the writing. I was like, dude, the writing's done. Anyway, it was a fun like flip, because of how people value stuff in the artist conversation, which is a whole nother panel on how artists need to focus on getting paid. To go back to that though, that Adidas ad was created in a 12-hour window, basically. I'm working with the Chicago Cubs doing work, and realize there's this moment where this fiery pitcher who has a brand that is very much an Adidas and hip hop could tell his story as he gets traded to New York. And I needed to go fast. It was for social media, and you were the only dude I was going to call, because we had been to war together so much. I mean, at the end of the day, people fall into those things because I have no idea how to write a poem. I remember sending you some notes, and I was like, and he's from this borough, and here's some other people from this borough. And at some point you were like, shut up, Tommy. I know, I get it. I'm like sending you notes. And like, can you imagine me trying to change a word in Xero's poem? Like, I can give you feelings or ask about this section to maybe try to do something different. But for me to manipulate your words, that would be the act of a crazy man, So trust, going to war together. You and I had sold that product. I could show past work to Adidas and get approval fast. And that's where that came from. And I never thought in a million years that would win a gold national Addy. It was a great spot. We almost forgot to submit it on the local level because it was such a blip on the radar of that busy year. And I think, it picked up momentum because it was an African-American baseball player, which is rare. A hip hop voice in baseball at a time where the world is on fire while we're on lockdown. Advertising didn't look and sound like that in too much of the competitions we were competing against. And it just kept building momentum. It was authentic. It was real. It was raw. I mean, we used the take from your living room that if I remove the music, I can hear your kid in the background, dude. Like, and it was good enough, so.
Well, yeah, I think that if we're talking about ad agencies, hiring artists, we're also talking about people who know how to give artists direction, outside of you know, an actor in a scene. Same way if you were, go ahead, Eddie.
If you're an ad agency and you're hiring a talent like yourself or Amy, and you're not allowing you to do your work, you're a bad agency. If you're not, I mean, I look at that way with all my creative partners that I work with. I never work with a vendor. I work with partners. I mean, if I'm working with a composer, I'm listening to that composer. If I'm working with an animator or a motion graphic designer, I'm listening to that person. You're hiring them because of their talent. So then to hire someone like either one of you, and so, you know, this isn't the way we really see it. You're just an idiot. You're an idiot. And, you know, and that's just the way I look at it. I'm not a big fan of advertising people, even though I've had a career in advertising my entire life, but it's just, that's the way it is. You have to let the talent be the talent. You know, you hired them for a reason. You could have hired the wrong talent. That's your bad too. But you have to let them do their job.
And I've been the wrong talent before. And I would say there was a project that I was hired for, and they, after we got the ball rolling, I think we had done some shoots, and then they went on my social media and they saw that I was pretty political. I could be sometimes abrasive, and yeah, they pulled out. So
yeah.
It happens.
Still have that footage, Xero, if we ever need to.
Well, I didn't want to say any names, Tommy.
It was an interesting one for sure.
Yes,
but that's
indeed.
part of it. I need to know that going forward too. Like I would never, I wouldn't make that mistake again. I feel like we were at the beginning of Facebook really picking up steam. I mean, that was probably 2016, huh? Like that is like it's really getting feisty out there. That's the kind of the beginning. So anyway, yeah, it's a super interesting version when you look at social media, talent, where that collision can come. And that's the only time that's ever happened. And it honestly was out of precaution. It wasn't, I don't believe it happened in a super negative way. It was just like, we have some concerns and we have this pivot we can use. So, and they used it. So.
But I think that because this conversation is happening in the context of a business forum, I think that it is realistic that businesses do feel intimidated when aligning themselves with artists. You know, some of us can be a little unpredictable.
Not only that, but you know, a lot of agency people are starstruck, and I use that I usually use the star effer word, but I'm not, since we're, you know, I'm being PG-13, but they really like, I've worked with production companies that did title sequences for movies or title sequences for television shows. So the creative teams are like, oh, they did this work, so we have to work with them because they're famous. They touch the stars. They touch Hollywood. And so I think a lot of people want that. But something that you said, Tommy, about the world being on fire is that I think now more than ever, we need joy. And I think that brands that bring you joy through word, through spoken word, through music, through dance, through art, through powerful performance, people will want that brand in their life. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that. And I think that if more brands took advantage of art and culture as a message and a platform, they would be more revered at this point, and they would have a bigger place in the hearts of people. And I think brands need more of that.
You were about to say something, Amy?
Yeah, I was going to just piggyback off what Eddie said. I was going to say it before when he was talking about ad agencies. I think ad agencies, the people that call us, I think they need to do their homework a little bit more. And homework meaning looking beyond what's being presented. And what's being presented is, like you said, Eddie, it's the stars, what's trending. There's been a lot of times where I come into a situation, that they're like, oh, we didn't know you existed. Well, that's okay. But you have to do your homework. I may not be, a household name, but there is something in the work that I do. And I think a lot of people, they want to go with the household name. They may think that the numbers may get better, or I don't know, just familiarity. I don't know what it is, but I think ad agencies or people who are hiring creatives need to do their homework a little bit more to actually align with artists who sing the same song as they do. And it may not be an artist who's well known, but at the same time, that could actually, that marriage could be something that takes both of you to another level. And instead they go with something else who's not aligned, or it doesn't quite fit. And it's just, and it's funny, as a consumer of whatever they're trying to sell, you actually feel that. You go, well, this wasn't right. I get it, but it wasn't totally there. So I think that they need to do some more homework or better homework to really just align their brand with the actual talent that's around. There's so many people doing amazing things that they don't have to go to the same 10 people, the same 20 actors and actresses.
Well, I think for every, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, for every artist, there's that one thing in your resume that kind of overshadows or gets more buzz, I would say, than everything else. For me, it's the 2013 World Title Championship. I can never get past that. I've done a whole lot of stuff other than that, but that's the thing. When people research me, that's the thing that sticks in their head, and quite often it's the thing that they say, okay, we're going to hire this guy. He used to be, at one time, he was one of the best in the world, apparently, or whatever, right? For whatever that award carries, right? And I think for a singer, if you win a Grammy, then that's it, right? You become Grammy award winning. It gets stuck in front of your name every time, no matter what else you do. And I would say, Amy, I was reading your bio. I saw the word Beyonce. And I was like, whoa, my daughter's a singer, of course. Like she's worked with Beyonce, and I'm sure that just people can't get that one thing out of their heads.
Yeah, the reality of that was just 1 month. I mean, that's not even close to what I do. I'm not even in that world. I'm mostly classical ballet, modern dance, contemporary dance, musical theater. That was just one of those little hiccups that happen, and people they get transfixed on that just because she is who she is, and that's wonderful, but there's more to it than that. So if somebody were to look at me and go from that, perfect example, I'm not going to come in the door doing that. That's not what I do. I could tell you people who do that, but that's far removed from what I do. So it's kind of, that's knowing the artist, knowing who you hire, knowing what their worth is so important in this world of advertising and bringing art into people's homes, into their televisions. I think the ad agencies could do a better job. It would be a different look. Everything starts to kind of look the same sometimes because it's the same 10, 12 people that you see creatively, the creative minds that are behind it. They can only produce so much,
Right.
It takes a lot to produce these things. And you feel drained after you do it. But to spread out the wealth a little bit more, I think people should just do their research a little bit more.
I really agree with you, Amy, but especially in the world of influencers, because I live in Los Angeles, where you can't swing your man bag without knocking down like 12 influencers. They're on every corner, and if you don't follow influencers in the wild and laugh out loud every minute of every day, you've got to do that. But when agencies look at influencers, they look at specific numbers and Q scores, and they don't dig deep enough into what could that person really bring to your brand. Just because that person can fart the theme to Jaws doesn't mean that it's good for your brand. And there are so many talented people who have influence that can bring much more in regards to their art and their art form. And I think that's where the smart play would be.
And I think circling back to yesterday, you had the headline for yesterday's performances for Lady Gaga and J-Lo. It was not Amanda Gorman. We didn't know her until she actually did what she does. And that's the beautiful thing. Now we're talking about her. No one's talking about Lady Gaga, Garth Brooks, and those are household names. And the unhousehold name is the one that we all connected to, because she was doing her art. And I think that's just a profound thing. You know, now all the ad agencies were going to do that. But if you had mentioned Amanda Gorman before she said that poem, nobody probably would have, they would have picked J-Lo over Amanda Gorman, even though everybody is resonating with her today.
Yes,
yeah, I think
indeed.
part of that thing real quick, and I know we have to move on to Q&A, but she was in the normal setting of it all. She just looked like, and honestly have not done my research on how old she actually is, but she looked like a child taking the mic in a very
22.
world where she just took the mic, did her thing, and like mic dropped right there, while every other performer is fully lit, has gone to war on what they're going to wear for however long, had stylists all over them. I mean, was it super cool that Katy Perry looked like a stormtrooper basically? Yeah, she looked awesome, but it's all so produced. And when she took that mic, it was right at the, you know, on the platform that everyone was standing at. It wasn't the show that wouldn't ever end. And by the way, I wanted Uncle Joe to go to bed so bad last night. I was tired just watching him. I was like, how long is this thing gonna go?
Well, Tommy, I would say quite often what we see in some of these styles of performance is that just by nature, of course they're rehearsed, but they have a tendency to come off as being more sincere. Like poetry has a tendency to come off as being more sincere than a political speech or someone singing, verse, bar, verse, chorus of a song. And I think even, when I watched the young lady in the Amazon commercial, that final part where she goes out and starts doing ballet from the Nutcracker Suite, she's really doing ballet. She's really dancing. She's not pretending to be into it. It is, I don't know, it's something that cuts through. Anyway, I guess moving on to our question and answer section. First question in the chat is, how have short form content platforms like TikTok and Instagram stories changed branding and marketing? Second part to that question, how can they best be used to grow a customer base? I'll say as far as TikTok, I haven't seen so many people dancing. I think TikTok is, of course it's not, they're not trained dancers, but they're dancing, man. They're into it.
Yeah.
I don't even have it.
Go ahead, Amy. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, I was gonna say, like, I create dances and I do dance, and I don't even have a TikTok account. It's just not, it's just not one of those things that I'm like, I just can't do it. But I think that a lot of people follow it, and now we're in a following kind of mentality, in a following world, influence world. So I think it is working in terms of branding. People are selling things through TikTok. They're getting stardom through TikTok. But I don't know. I'm just old school when it comes to those kind of things, because it's such a short thing. I think you're like 30 seconds or something. It's so short. It's like anybody could do a 30-second cute spot, so it's very tricky. It's very tricky right now.
Yeah, I think we're all still trying to figure out how they could use TikTok for, how a business might use a TikTok account. But I think right now it's mostly, the 20 somethings and 30 somethings. I don't have a TikTok account either. My wife does. She's 11 years younger than me, and she's always sending me stuff from TikTok. And I'm like, I don't find this entertaining. I'm too old now.
Rabbit hole. I have 3 daughters, and it's a rabbit hole you can get caught in. You get locked in, and an hour and a half passes. I would say to the person asking that question, I don't know how to answer that outside of sounding super generic. If I knew who they were, what their business was, I'd be happy to throw some ideas at the wall and see if anything sticks or sounds interesting. But it's so custom formed to, are you a personal brand or are you a giant entity, and how you use these platforms? It's about constant communication. It's about sticking with it, which is why I don't do it. I like creating quality and not quantity. And so these smaller platforms aren't for me. I like really going big and not just stopping down to think multiple times a day about, oh, that bookcase would be amazing to dance against. I just like, these things don't occur to me.
I think that it depends on who you're partnering with from an influencer perspective and what your brand is. If you're this Comedy Central and you want to have a specific message based on humor and art and how that plays, you're going to look towards one artist. If you're Coca-Cola and you're spreading the news about, feel happiness or something like that, you're going to look at something brighter and sweeter and kinder. And so it really does depend on doing your homework, like Amy said, doing your homework with influencers and determining what's right with your brand message. And it's all how it, and also, influencers are a risk. I mean, you can have an influencer who's amazing and fabulous, and the next day, mows down 1,000 people with a tractor. And so, that's just like, that's the game you're going to play when you party there.
Yeah, I know the Arts Council has an Instagram account, but it does not have a TikTok account. I don't think TikTok has really gotten there yet where businesses are comfortable kind of lining themselves up. Instagram is, we're putting up pictures of what's going on with our programming. And, for a lot of people, if they don't see a picture of it, it didn't happen. And so, especially now that people can't get out to a lot of our events, having some pics from a virtual show, it's great for Instagram. But
Instagram
yeah, I think
has
TikTok,
been amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for Instagram has been absolutely amazing. It's an amazing platform for dance, for choreographers, to get their work out. Because a lot of people, now, especially now, they can't come to the theater, but even before, just to get your brand out there, to say, okay, I am working, here's some of my work. You could put 30 a minute on, you could put 5 minutes on, you could put 20 minutes on. I think it's helped me tremendously in terms of people actually seeing my work. There's a lot of directors, a lot of people who Instagram stalk, they follow you and see what you're doing. And then, a year later, they'll call you and say, but I saw your work on Instagram. I'm like, well, how did you see it? They're like, on Instagram. So, I mean, that's been amazing. Using social media as a creative and knowing how to use it. I think that's the greatest gift that social media has given us, is how to use that platform in a way that could propel your work forward. Yeah,
I agree with you, Amy, on Instagram for sure. I mean, I follow Alvin Ailey, and it's like and so every day I see a dance on Alvin Ailey, it just brings joy to my heart every day. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of the things I go to. But I do think someone recently said, when it comes to influencing an audience, what works best, I think Instagram is the best platform for that. But it's also the way you do it. And it's the fact that you keep your political stuff out of it. You focus on your art, and you show your art, and let your art feed that. And I think that's really key in regards to having the people have the ability to see what you can possibly do.
Yeah, I think for the question, I think it's from Robert when it comes to, and we're skipping a question, when it comes to influencing an audience, what works best? I think it depends on if you're an artist, or if you're a brand, if you're a company. I think that those are different approaches depending on who you are. And yeah, how do you see Instagram serving you? What do you have to show off? But to go back one question, Brandon C asks, how can brands and artists authentically balance the goal of selling with the expression of the artist? Amy, I think we talked a little bit about that earlier. Because there is balance, right?
I think, yeah, and I think it comes to both people being aligned to work together. What I want to say aligns with what the company is trying to say, or creatively what I'm trying to do. I think Eddie mentioned that point. And it goes back to research. It's like dating. You have to figure out, okay, this person is going to be with me through the next, I don't know how many months, of whatever that campaign is. Do they fit? Is it a right match? Okay, great. Yes, there's going to be push and pull with it, and it naturally should be. I think push and pull helps you grow, but I think if you can try to get it right, and the synergy is right from the get-go, from the foundation of it, I think that's how you can. How it can materialize into something great moving forward.
I agree. I think the ethos of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead. It's on you.
I just think that the ethos of the brand and the ethos of the artist have to align. I mean, you need to, they have to feel good about the brand's political aspects, the talent does. And it really is it is a marriage, it is dating, and it is a respect for each other. And if there isn't that respect for each other, if you're an artist that doesn't respect the brand, but even if the money looks good, it's not going to work out in the long run. There's a bad taste that's going to exist somewhere.
Yeah, and right now, if the brand gets canceled, all accomplices get canceled. So for me, if I'm hired, if some organization or company wants me to do something for them, like as an artist, I'm going to research, because, if it comes out that they got 12-year-olds in some countries making shoes for them, and I'm attached to that, my name's on that, and yeah, you don't want to be in cahoots with somebody who's getting canceled these days.
Well, one of the questions there, and just the was it talking about when it comes to influencing an audience, what works best? So that question, there are still My Pillow commercials. They're, in the sham wow sense of things. That is not the marketing that I wish to be a part of. Have I made stuff like that? Yes. Is that what I aspire to do? No. Do I hope the world gets more and more away from that style of marketing? But as a brand, you have to decide what you are. Apple sells us $1,200 phones every 2 years, and we don't even think about it. When we open that box, when we pull off that plastic, when everything feels the way it feels, for some reason, we go ahead and drop $600 a year at $50 a month extra, and it's just financed in, and we don't even think about it, because that brand creates an experience that is close to us, and so we don't feel it. So if you want to be a brand like that, think like that. Like, YouTube shows me ads that I love because my kids are watching YouTube with kids screaming on it all day. And then when YouTube shows me an ad as a parent, they just show me a serene waterfall so that I hate them less, right? It's literally their carbon offset. As a parent, I hear that waterfall and that soothing sound, and I hate YouTube less. That's an important marketing play for them. They are selling me nothing except, we aren't that bad. See, take a break on us. 30 seconds of no sound. I love those ads. It's quiet, but you don't always have to be actively selling. What is your brand? Who are you? And how do you communicate it at all times? Whether real or imagined is the key to that.
Thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Xero, and all of our panelists. Guys, this was a fascinating discussion and food for thought for everyone. I'm sure we'll soon begin seeing some inspiring marketing and other initiatives locally, highlighting our wonderful arts community in fresh ways. So we have a short break now, which is a good time for you, all of y'all watching this, and set some one-on-one video meetings here on the event platform. Remember to do that. You'll browse attendees' profile, send a message to set up a meeting, and then you'll meet for 15 minutes via video on the one-to-one meeting section of the website. Then get settled in and come back at 12 o'clock for a powerful masterclass on ways to spot trends and opportunities in the future. We could all use a little help this year by peering into the future and seeing what trends might be emerging. Mark Parrott will present Meta Trends and the Next Economy, turning potential losses into major profits. This masterclass is usually a high-dollar ticketed class anywhere else he presents, but it's included free with your BREW registration. The session starts at noon, so this gives you time to be cool like me and score some BREW swag on our merch store. You know you want to. See you at noon at Meta Trends and the Next Economy, turning potential losses into major profits. Bye for now.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks so much. This was a
Yes,
blast.
indeed. It was. I got to run over to record the radio show. But thank y'all so much, man. This was great. We could have went on forever.
Thanks.
Cheers,
Wonderful
everyone.
to meet you
Stay
guys,
safe.
Eddie, Tommy.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.